Remember, there's some pretty important information here in the disclaimer. You might want to give the video a quick pause and read it.
Before we get into this, I want to welcome a new Patreon supporter, Chaos XP. They did support me once long ago, but they're back as a paying member. And they actually pledged at the $5 tier, which means that they get a free video request as well. So, that's another thing that you can do if you want to support Wake Angel 2001. And hopefully Chaos will let me know what they want me to make, if anything. Hello everyone, this is Wake Angel 2001 coming at you with another commission. This is another part for Albert and it is Bunnie. Once again using J.C. Thornton's models instead of, the ones that were made by Corey. So with the printout of the head, I just wanted to mention, doesn't Bunnie made in this style look a lot like Bugs Bunny? It makes me believe that maybe, they say that Sonic the Hedgehog's art style was inspired by old rubber hose era cartoons like Mickey Mouse and Felix the Cat. But when you get to specifically the Saturday morning cartoon, you see a little bit of Warner Brothers influence in there, especially with characters like, that specifically look like Warner Brothers animals. Although, admittedly, Antoine does not look a lot like Wile E, despite the fact that they're both supposed to be coyotes. Anyway, that was just a little quick digression. The base figure, aside from this new head, is still Ellen Ripley, the same one I used to make my last classic-style bunny. And dismantled down to its core elements, this is what we're left with. The Ellen Ripley figure is kind of weird. None of her joints are properly pin discs. They're all ball joints. But, they're double stem ball joints that connect in just the right way so that they kind of almost have the same range as a pin disc. It's actually a really unusual and kind of interesting joint method. And funnily enough, this actually makes Ellen one of the easier figures to paint in the shoulders because there's no pin disc in the middle getting scraped off. I'm just, saying. So there is some sculpting that needs to be done. After smoothing out Ellen's torso to get rid of all those bandoliers and pouches, I sculpt on the little bunny costume thing that she has going on. Yeah, I wanted to say corset, but on Bunnie, it legitimately is just a Playboy bunny costume. So yeah, that's the element that I'm sculpting on. And she does use the same 3D printed feet that I used to make before, although slightly modded. I did round the toes out a little bit with a bit of extra sculpt. I'm not a master 3D model maker. So I just made a basic model and then used my sculpting skills to overcompensate my lack of talent in that regard. And then give everything a nice metallic paint job, like her cybernetic left arm and her legs. To get that cool 2 shades of metal look, for most of it, I painted it gray first and then put a silver layer on top of it to make it nice and metallic-y and shiny. But for the toes on her feet, as well as the end of her arm, I painted those parts white and then painted the silver on top of that. So it does have a silvery metallic look, but it doesn't really have that deep gunmetal color you're used to seeing. Her organic parts are also a pretty simple paint job. Her shade is a specific shade of yellow. It's mostly the ochre yellow, but I also mixed in just a hint of ochre brown to make it just a tad more earth-toned. As I said, J.C. Thornton's models always look like an amalgamation of the classic and modern designs, which is why his model has a braid, while the original cartoon version of Bunnie did not have that. So we're going with more comic book accurate colors, meaning brighter shades, rather than the browns and more deeper earth tones that the original Saturday morning cartoon used. Painted up, the weirdest thing about this is that both of Bunnie's ears are standing straight. Bunnie has always kind of been depicted as sort of having one of her ears that's always folded down in front and then the other one perked up. I think that's kind of to create the illusion of I don't know, like the way that some women have like their hair that comes down to cover half of their face. Like I always figured that that's what they were going for with Bunnie, except, it was her ears instead of her hair. Well, I'm not sure. But yeah, like amalgamating aesthetic designs from both the later comic, well, before the Super Genesis wave, and the original cartoon actually makes her go pretty good next to the Sally that I had made, which used pretty much the same aesthetic. And if you compare her to the original design Bunnie that I made before, like this is the one from my personal collection, you can see the distinct differences, but also how they're still kind of similar. Again, Corey Sonic Fan gets credit for creating the model of the original style Bunnie, but J.C. Thornton's design, despite its differences, doesn't really ring untrue. It still looks like her. You can look at her and say, oh yeah, that's Bunnie. Aside from the few people that don't actually know anything about the Saturday morning cartoon and be like, oh hey, did you make Lola Bunnie as a Sonic character cyborg? Then it's still kind of valid, because as I said before, the art style's kind of homaging in some ways. But yes, that is Albert's Bunnie, which is an amalgamation. So thank you all for watching this video, and we're going to let Sonic the Hedgehog take us out like he always does.
Oh, hey everybody, it's me, Sonic the Hedgehog. Just here to remind you that if you haven't already, make sure to hit that like button. And for even more amazing customs, don't forget to subscribe to Wake Angel 2001. Because between you and me, they're way past cool.